You've built your reputation on precision and expertise. Now let your website reflect it. Introducing SFREP Websites, custom design sites made exclusively for residential real estate appraisers. We handle everything in-house, from your new domain and written content to a polished and professional look right here in North Carolina. Setup is free and hosting is only $25 a month or included at no additional cost with the Appraise-It Platinum plan. Launch your online presence today. Visit websites.sfrep.com, email sales@sfrep.com, or call 800-523-0872. SFREP, innovation for the real pro.
Hello, everybody. Matt over at SFREP. Glad you could join me today. Today, we're going to be going over Appraise-It Pro. I know a lot of you are using Appraise-It Classic still, but you got to get ready for the new UAD and use Appraise-It Pro. So what we're going to be doing in this webinar is we're going to be going over how to do a standard UAD, current UAD 2.6 report in Appraise-It Pro. And then at the end, I'll show you the new UAD 3.6 interface in Appraise-It Pro. And I'll go over some updates to the timeline because we are literally hours, maybe a day away, but we're very, very close to being ready to go with allowing you guys to do UAD 3.6 reports. Now, this webinar is going to be geared mainly towards people who are using Appraise-It Classic and are wanting to move over to Appraise-It Pro. Though, if you are new to Appraise-It Pro, you're going to get a lot out of this as well. But you may hear me reference Appraise-It Classic, and that is our old software that a lot of our users are still using. We rewrote our software from the ground up in 2019, and so people have slowly been moving over to it. I would say maybe 75% of our users are now on Pro. There's still about 25% of you guys that are still using it. So we're doing these webinars to help you guys and aid you guys in getting moved over. So with all of that being said, if you have any questions, there is going to be a chat window. If you're logged into YouTube or Google, then there'll be a chat window either over on the right-hand side or it may be down at the bottom. And if you are not signed into YouTube and you still want to ask questions, don't worry. You too can participate. All you got to do is send me an email, training@sfrep.com, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might come up with. And if you're watching this after the fact, you can also use training@sfrep.com to ask any questions that you might have, because we do archive these webinars so that people can watch them later on. All you got to do is follow that same link that was either on the website or that was emailed to you today or that you saw on Facebook or wherever you may have seen it. All right, so let's take a look at Appraise-It Pro. I've already got it cranked up here. Once again, I'm going to be showing you how to fill out a UAD 2.6 report. And it's one of those things where once you know how to do that, then you will be primed and ready to go for doing the UAD 3.6. But remember, you're going to be doing UAD 2.6 reports primarily for the next 2 months. And then as we get into next year, you're going to still predominantly be doing UAD 2.6 reports until maybe summer. And there will be a tipping point at some point in the summer where you'll start doing more UAD 3.6 reports. So when you first start Appraise-It Pro, you're going to be in an area that Microsoft calls the backstage. I often like to call it the super file menu because most of the things that are in here are in the file menu in Appraise-It Classic. And as a matter of fact, if I click on the little arrow up here in the upper left-hand corner to take me to the editing area, of course, I don't have a report open right now, so this is all blank. But to go into the editing area, if I want to go back to the backstage, I go to the file menu. And you'll notice that the file menu is kind of separated out by itself with this black background here to kind of make it special. Click back over there and I'm back here in the backstage. So when you first start up Appraise-It Pro, in the backstage, you're going to be in the welcome section. You can see there's a number of sections over here on the left-hand side. Right now we're in the welcome section. You'll see that there's also some save buttons here They're ghosted out right now because I don't have a report currently open. Print and save PDF also ghosted out because I don't have a report open. I'm not going to go over these. These are duplicates. You can also find these in the editing home menu. Matter of fact, if I come back over here, you'll see in the home menu, you have all these duplicated. So you're probably not going to use them here very often. Then there's new window and exit. Exit's very self-explanatory. You click on that, closes the program, does the same thing as the X in the upper right-hand corner. But new window is unique to Appraise-It Pro. You didn't have this in Appraise-It Classic because you can open up multiple instances of Appraise-It Pro at the same time. So you can have one instance of Appraise-It Pro open on one of your monitors. If you have multiple monitors, you could open up multiple other instances of Appraise-It Pro, have two reports open at the same time, being ultra productive and working on both. Or you can reference one and copy and paste and do all that kind of fun stuff. In this welcome area, this is where we put information that we want to disseminate to you guys. We're never going to put flashy GIFs or images or videos or anything like that in there. It's always going to be text, and we don't update it too often. You can see the last time that we updated it was back in August. We'll probably be updating it again here in the next day or two, possibly Monday. As we get GSC certified for the UAD 3.6, there'll be another one that'll pop up here. But we don't update it too often. But this is just a way for us to communicate with you without having to email you or call or anything like that. The next thing up is the new section. This is where you're going to start a brand new report, whether that report be a UAD 2.6 report or a UAD 3.6 report. You can open up a default template. What's a template? I'll tell you here in a little bit, but suffice to say, a template and a skeleton are kind of the same thing. They serve the same purpose. Under the hood, they're very different, and they're much easier to deal with, but they serve the same purpose, okay? They're just way easier to create in Appraise-It Pro. So you can see if I select the 1004, the current URAR, you'll see I have a bunch of templates that I had set over here. So if I double click right here, it's just going to open up the default template, which is just a blank report with a couple of things added into it that I probably will need. Things like photo pages, map pages, things like that. And if I come over here onto the right-hand side, I can open up one of my templates that I've created earlier. We'll go over that here a little bit more in a little bit. And then you'll notice there's the 3.6 public preview. We'll go over that later too. The open section, this you might not use quite as much, but this is where you can come to open a report, open a classic report, or open a MISMO document. Open a report, probably not going to use that very often. You can browse to a report manually if you want to do that. You could do the same thing by just simply double clicking it in Windows, and it'll just open up Appraise-It Pro. Open up a classic report you might use, though you can use the search, and we'll get to that in a minute. And then open MISMO document. If you have a colleague that uses a different software than you, or if you have a colleague that uses Appraise-It Pro, they can send you MISMO documents. Or if you were coming from ACI, Alamode, Bradford, somebody like that, you can open up your MISMO documents here, and Appraise-It Pro will open up a MISMO XML document as if it was a regular Appraise-It Pro file. Matter of fact, we distribute Appraise-It Pro as a MISMO XML reader to banks, lenders, AMCs. Then there's open template and create open classic skeleton. Probably not going to do this very often. Open template, I don't think you'd really ever be able to, you won't really ever do that, but open classic skeleton, you might get asked all the time, do we automatically convert skeletons from Appraise-It Classic over to Appraise-It Pro? And we don't. The reason we don't do that is in testing with users, they ended up not really wanting that because it brought over a bunch of old skeletons. It brought over, ones that they didn't use anymore, broken skeletons, things like that, caused issues. So what we do is we encourage you to create new templates from scratch for two reasons. One, you're going to have a nice, good, clean set of templates to start out with in Appraise-It Pro. But also, in creating templates, you're going to learn how to use Appraise-It Pro. But we do understand that there are probably some skeletons that you have that are very complex, and you don't want to have to recreate them and copy and paste and all that stuff. So we do allow you, and our tech support can walk you through this, but we do allow you to open up a classic skeleton and then save it as a template, make some modifications and save it as a template. What you probably will use quite often here in the open section are the recent reports. I use this all the time. This is the last 20 or so reports that you've opened up. They'll be listed here. This can be a time saver if you want to go back to a report you were working on 2 days ago, 3 days ago, last week. Instead of having to go to search for it, you can just come here, see that's the one I want, double click on it and open it back up. Next is search. This is very similar to the file index in Appraise-It Classic. It's just a lot prettier and a lot more useful. And this is an exclusionary search, just like it was in Appraise-It Classic, meaning that the more of these fields that I fill out with search items, the more targeted my search results are going to be. So if I came in here to zip code and just typed in 28226 and did a search, I'm not going to get very many. Well, I might get quite a few. Depends on where you are. I'm in Charlotte. There's a lot of zip codes in Charlotte. But if you were in a smaller town, like where I came from, Clyde, there's only one zip code when I used to live there. But in Charlotte, there's probably 50 zip codes. So if I'm in Charlotte and I just type in one zip code, I might get like 20 reports. But if I also come in here and let's say give it a census tract, or I give it a partial street address, maybe I want to do, let's just do painted. And you see it's automatically filling in for me because I have a Painted Tree Road address in my database, so it's going to autofill it for me. Now I'm telling it that I want to see all the reports that are in the 28226 zip code, but also are on Painted Tree Road. So now I've really narrowed down. Maybe I'm only going to get 1 or 2 reports at this point. Now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to select clear because I want to clear all those search terms out because I don't do appraisals on this computer. I only do testing and I do webinars on it. So I don't have a huge database. So we'll pretend I put some stuff in here, but I'm just going to click on search. And now I'm going to get a couple of reports here. And if I click on those, single click on those reports, it's going to give me the front view photo of the address, and it's going to give me some pertinent details about that particular report so that I know that I have the correct report. And I can come in here and I can select multiple different ones here, taking a look at them. Now I can also scroll out here. There's a little scroll bar down here at the bottom. I can scroll over here to the right and I can see all the information that's contained in the database about this particular address. And when I am satisfied that I have the right address, I can simply double click on it to open it up in Appraise-It Pro and edit or view it. This search up here is completely customizable. If I don't really, let's say I'm only licensed or certified in the state of North Carolina, so I'm never going to be searching by state, I can delete state by just clicking on here to remove it, or I can use the pull-down menu to make the state field something else. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to delete it, say yes, and it's gone. Now, if I get certified or licensed in, let's say, South Carolina, because Charlotte's right on the border, a lot of appraisers around here are in both states, I can use the add field button or pull-down menu here, scroll down to state, but now it's like orphaned by itself down here at the bottom. Well, that's where these little up and down arrows come in. I can move it back up in the list until it's where I want it to be, which would be above the zip code. So fully customizable here. You can also do things like export the results. So if I did a search and I found all of the appraisals that I did on Painted Tree Road and 28226 zip code, and I wanted to send those to a friend who also uses Appraise-It Pro or a colleague, I could export those results and then they could import those results. Okay, finally there's settings. If you are a tinkerer, you can come in here and you can change all of the behaviors of Appraise-It Pro and customize it to your heart's content, including things like the way that the forms processor works, the different colors that are used in Appraise-It Pro. You can customize all of this stuff to your liking. If you are somebody who doesn't feel comfortable doing that kind of stuff, or you don't like to mess things up, maybe only come in here when you have one of our tech support people on the line with you. All right, so let's get to editing. So I'm going to come over here, editing, There we go. I'm going to come over here to new and I'm going to open up a blank URAR. I am not going to open up one of my templates. I'm just going to open up the blank one. Before I do that, I do want to point out this checkbox down here at the bottom. It says it's checked by default, include suggested forms in the default template. And what this means is if you uncheck this, it's not going to put extra comp pages, map pages, photo pages in there for you. It's going to give you a blank 6-page report plus a couple other little things. Most of the time, you're going to want to keep this checked, and it is checked by default. All right, so we're going to double click. Appraise-It Pro is going to take just a second here, and here we are. This is the UAD 2.6 report. This is going to look very familiar to you if you use Appraise-It Classic, but it's also going to be a little bit different. The colors are different. And we have some extra panels here. Now in Appraise-It Pro, you have that UAD helper panel over, I think it's by default on the right-hand side. You can move it from one side to the other. We've kind of taken that concept and run with it with Appraise-It Classic so that you have 4 panels here. There's the report panel, the validator panel, the responses panel, and the format panel. I'm going to go over these individually. And when I go over this one, the first one, the report panel, I'm going to want you to pay particular attention because when you understand this panel, everything in Appraise-It Pro will just kind of click for you because it's the main difference between Appraise-It Classic and Appraise-It Pro. There's kind of a fundamental difference in the way that you create and work with reports, and it all centers around this panel. But before we do that, I do want to show you there is actually a hidden 5th panel, and that's help. And you can see that it is tabbed over here. So right now we're under responses. Think of responses, those are like your F keys. But there's also help. And we've written help text for every single field that is available to you in the report. And they all have help text with them. This is not going to be very useful to you for those that have been doing this for years. But if you have a trainee, or if you yourself are a trainee, this can be very valuable to you. But because it's not going to be very valuable to most, we keep it tabbed over here. All right, let's move over to the report panel. Let's start talking about that. What I'm going to do here first, these panels are customizable, and I'm going to pull down the validator a little bit to give us a little bit more room in viewing the report panel. The report panel is basically the table of contents of your report. It is showing you what is contained in the report, and it is showing you the order in which they are in the report. In Appraise-It Classic, you would go to the contents menu and select from a menu there of the form or addenda that you wanted to fill out. In Appraise-It Pro, you build your report from nothing into something, and you're going to build it at the beginning or as you go along, whereas in Appraise-It Classic, you would build your report at the end using your print schemes. People ask, where are the print schemes in Appraise-It Pro? We don't have them because they're not necessary. You don't need a print scheme in Appraise-It Pro because you're building the report at the beginning and as you go along. So you're going to want this, by the time you're done with the report, this should reflect everything that you want to be in the report and in what order you want it to be in. Okay, so if you're not going to be using a flood map in your report, don't have it in here. Don't have anything in here that's empty. The reason you want to keep this nice and tidy with only the addendums or the addenda and the forms that you're going to be using in this particular report is that you want to be able to open this report 3 weeks from now and know exactly what was in this report and what was delivered to the AMC or the lender. All right. Now, how do you do that? Well, it's real simple. If I want to add something to the report, I click on Add up here at the top on this toolbar. And I know that we don't use these anymore, but I just like to use it because it's a kind of out of the way form. I'm going to type in COVID in this search box up here, and you'll see I don't have to hit enter or anything. It's just going to find all the references to COVID, and you'll see there's the COVID-19 desktop addendum. If I want to add that, I can do one of two things. I can either double click, and then this right here is nothing more than just a duplication of what's over here, okay? So now I've added it to this report, which is the same thing that's over here. It's just we haven't done it yet. This is kind of temporary. We're making our decisions here. and it's going to add it in at the bottom. If I don't want it at the bottom, I can click and drag it up somewhere else in the report, or I can get rid of it by hitting the little arrow to jump it back over here. What I recommend people do is figure out where you want to put it. Let's say I want to put it after the definitions and abbreviations in my report. I can click and hold and drag it over there. And I'm going to put it right there. And there we go. Now, this is not yet in the report until I hit save and close. So as soon as I hit save and close, it's dropped it in there, and there it is, the COVID-19 addendum desktop. If I did that by accident, I decided, oh, wait a minute, COVID's not really a thing anymore. I'm not going to be using this report. I'm not going to be using this addendum. I want to get rid of it. I just highlight it by clicking on it, single click, and then I'm going to click on remove and say yes, and now it's gone. If I'm not using a flood map in this report, select it, click remove, say yes, it's gone. So real easy to add things and remove things. If I want to order my report, in other words, I want to set the order which these forms and addenda are in, I can just simply click and drag something. So let's say I like to have my location map at the beginning of the report. I can click and simply drag it up here to the very beginning, and now it's the first thing in the report. No, I actually want it to be right before comps 4 through 6. Click, drag, whoops, there we go. There we go. Now it's before comps 4 through 6. So real easy to order things the way you want them and to add and remove things. But it gets even better because there is an easier way to add repeatable forms. You may have noticed that I have an add button up here with a little green plus, but I've also got that down here. So what do these little icons next to some of these pages mean? Well, the star means that's the primary report type. You can easily switch between report types by simply coming here to add, selecting primary instead of addenda, and then let's say put a 1073 in here and it's going to convert it into a condominium form. But that's kind of more advanced stuff. We're not going to do that right now, but you can do that. If there is a lock icon, that means that particular addendum is necessary for the proper operation of the report. So you can't remove it. You don't have to deliver it. You don't have to include it in the final product, but it needs to be here in the report. And then finally, the green pluses, they mean what you probably have already figured out. You can add additional instances or additional pages of that particular thing. So for example, in the default report, I have course comps 1 through 3 in the main body of the report. And then I've added comps 4 through 6. Let's say I want to have comps 7 through 9 in there as well. I just simply click on the plus next to it, and it's going to automatically add comps 7 through 9. And it's going to put sales comp photos 7 through 9 in there as well. If I want to click on plus again, now I've got comps 10 through 12 and 10 through 12 photos. Now there's some more advanced stuff you can do. One of the things I do want to show you, I'm not going to show you everything today because it would take too long. But one of the things I do want to show you is, let's say you have these general photos 6/legal 3x5. What does that mean? You can probably surmise what it means, but I'll show it to you. That means that there are 6 photos per page, legal sized, print, 3x5 aspect ratio. All right, so it's kind of like, remember when we used to print photos at the photomat? We would get the 3x5s or the 4x6s. These are the 3x5s. And there you go. So that's cool. Maybe I have a really neat 3-car garage, and one of the bays in the garage has like a lift in it, and the guy worked on cars, and I want to show that because that's pretty important, and that's going to add to the value of the house. So what I can do is I can put a bunch of extra photos of the garage in this 6 per page photo addendum. But what I can also do is I can name that so that I know later on that that's what's in there. Let's say I come back to this report a month from now. If I rename this, like I'm going to do right now, and I call it say something like that. Now, and you can come up with your own naming convention. Now I know that this is a 6 per page photo addendum on legal size, and it's my garage photos. So I can open up this report and not even have to go in here and look at what photos are where. I can just see at a glance where they are. All right, That's the big thing you needed to know. So you can relax a little bit now. Hopefully that has kind of clicked in your head so that now you realize the main difference between Appraise-It Classic and Appraise-It Pro is when and how you build your report. All right, let's move on to the validator here. The validator works very similar to the way it did in Appraise-It Classic. There is real-time validation and then comprehensive validation that you do at the end. Real-time validation, the easiest way for me to show this to you is in the state field. If I type in NC and tab out of the field, it's completely happy with that. It doesn't have any problems with that. But if I come in here and I got fat fingers and I say BC instead of NC, as soon as I tab out, it's going to turn red because BC is a Canadian province. It is not a US state. So let's say I'm down here in the grid somewhere and I glance over and I notice that there's a hard stop for state. I can single click on that and it will tell me down here what's wrong. State must be a valid 2-character US state abbreviation, example NC. Oh, I messed up. So now I can double click here. It's going to jump me back to the state field. I can clear that out, put it in there correctly, tab out, and now it's happy. It's not red anymore. That's the real-time validation. It's going to do things like check spelling, especially in the U83.6, it's going to be checking spelling. It doesn't check it here. The comprehensive validation will, but it's going to check dependencies, making sure you fill in one thing out before you fill out something else. It's going to make sure that it's going to check your math as you're going along, things like that. But when you're done with your report, you're going to want to do a comprehensive validation. All right. So the way you do that, and I'm not going to do it right now because it's going to freak out because I have an empty report here. But when you're done with your report or when you're getting to the point where you're pretty much done with it, you just click on the little validate button here and it's going to run through a complete validation. It's going to do the same thing when you attempt to deliver your report as well. But this is going to be good to make sure that everything's good before you try to deliver the report. There are 2 rule sets here. There's both FHA and UCDP. They are very, very similar to each other. So if you're doing an FHA report, obviously select FHA here. If you're doing a regular report for lending purposes, just do UCDP. It will remember your selection from one time to the next. So always double check which rule set is set here when you're starting your report. Let's jump over here to responses. Responses are very similar to the way they were in Appraise-It Classic in concept. If I come over here to City, I've already created some responses here. They're over here in this little panel here. How do I use them? The ways you probably think you can use them. I've assigned an F key to some of these. Now, you don't have an F key bar at the top, but you do have the ability to assign an F key. F4 is Charlotte, so I'm in the city field right now. If I type F4 on my keyboard, it's going to put Charlotte in there. If I like to use my mouse, I can also use my mouse, come over here and double click on Charlotte, or I can hit F2 and select it from a list, just like you could in Appraise-It Classic, and select Charlotte from the list. Or, and this is my favorite way, I can just start typing CH. It knows I mean Charlotte. It's going to autofill that. I tab out, and there you go. I love the autofill because that autofill works for both multi-line fields and for the single fields. If I come in here and do S, it's going to fill in SC for me. So you can see that if you set up a lot of these responses, you can just start typing the first few letters. It'll fill everything in for you, and you just hit tab. You can really start burning through your report that way. How do I create a new one? Well, what I can do here is, I'm running out of cities. Oh, I can do Monroe. Okay. No, I already got Monroe. Do I have Concord? I got Concord. Let's say Mooresville. All right, we'll do Mooresville. These are all suburbs of Charlotte. All right, so if I type into this field, Mooresville, I want to add that as a response. I come over here and I click on Manage Responses. It's got it filled in there for me. Now I can give it a title, but if it's a single line response, that's not really necessary. The title is more for if you have like 4 paragraphs in there, you want to give it a name. That way it just doesn't, you don't see the first few words of the whole 4 paragraphs. You'll want to give it a title. But right now I'm not going to give it a title because it's a 1-word response. And here I can set it as an F key. If you're a classic user, this will look very familiar to you. It's basically copied verbatim from Appraise-It Classic. I'm not going to give it an F key. I don't do a lot of appraisals in Mooresville. So I'm just going to click save. Now I'm going to click close, and you'll see now Mooresville is in there. So now I can type in MOO. Now it knows I mean Mooresville, and then I could just tab out. Finally, the the format panel. The format panel is showing you when you're not in a formatted field, it's going to show you a color key, and that's what it's showing right now. So you can see that green means formatted field, and then an inactive field is blue, and an extended comment field is a darker color blue. So you can see this does not have extended comments, but this one does. If I come down here into the grid and let's just do view, then this turns into the UAD helper. Now, just like in Appraise-It Classic, if you are familiar with the formatting, because we've been doing it for well over a decade at this point, a lot of people know what the formatting is by heart. You can most certainly just type directly into the field. But if you do need help, you can use the format panel here. This is just like the UAD helper in Appraise-It Classic. So view beneficial, view type we'll say is a golf course view, and it's also a water view because we're on one of the water traps. Say apply, and then it puts it in there for me. Real simple. Now, you'll notice up here at the top, we have what we call tabbed browsing. I love this feature of Appraise-It Pro. I can come in here and I can open up the location map. I can also open up sales comps 4 through 6, and it just tabs it just like a web browser would be. And you can even pull these tabs out, put them on a different monitor, take the tab, pop it back in if you want, just like you would with a web browser. If I close the tab, it's not removing it from the report. It's just I'm not viewing it anymore, just like it would be in a web browser. By the way, you can also pull these panels out and move them to another monitor if you wish. Or you can sit here and you can stack these things and put them all on the left-hand side, whatever you want to do. Invariably, in playing around with this, I want you to feel comfortable playing around with this because of what I'm about to show you. Let's say you mess up and you do something like this. Happens all the time. I've just messed something up. Don't freak out. All you got to do is come up here to view, reset the default, say yes. Puts everything back the way it was. So don't worry about that. You can also zoom in and zoom out down here at the bottom. Now let's talk about the menuing system real quick. And I'll get to y'all's questions here. I see Allison has a question. I'll get to you in just a second. Let's talk menus real quick. If you have ever used a Microsoft Office, you might notice that Appraise-It Pro looks very familiar, very similar. That's no accident. We use the Microsoft development environment, .NET development environment, to program Appraise-It Pro. Same development environment that they use for Microsoft Office. And it uses that Microsoft Office, that Microsoft Windows design aesthetic scheme, whatever you want to call it. And one of those things is what's called a ribbon bar menu. So instead of clicking on edit and a little menu dropping down, you get a series of icons. So it looks nicer and it's just cleaner and easier to understand. So there's the home menu. I've got close if I want to close the whole program, or actually, close would just close this particular file. Print, save, etc. Very similar menuing system as Appraise-It Classic. So under services, these are all of your internet-based services that you have to be online for. Tools are local programs, local helper programs. Orders, when you're ready to fire off your Mismo XML to your lender. And then, of course, support if you need help. Okay? And then one more thing I want to show you down here at the bottom. Also, I do want to point out all of our socials and our blog and everything are up here at the top under support. And you can check for updates, re-register, things like that. And then down here at the bottom, there's a little green light. Right now it's green because nothing is going wrong. But if something were to go wrong, I think yesterday we had some problems with the street mapping services. This may either turn yellow or red. Yellow meaning that there's a degradation in the service. Red meaning it is down. So this is always checking the status. So this is real time looking at all of our servers and knowing if there's a problem. If you see that this is red or yellow, you can click here and it'll tell you what the problem is. And then I can click there and it will pull up status.sfarep.com for me. You can actually go here and see that. If you are in Appraise-It Classic, you can manually go to status.sfrep.com. But here I got there from clicking on that little thing, and it'll give you more information as to what's going on. That way you don't have to call in and wait on hold or have somebody call you back or chat in. You can instantly know if there's anything going on, if there's some type of problem. All right. Okay, so let's get to some questions here. Allison says, can you show how to load a print job? I'm assuming you mean how you print your report at the end. Real simple. I come over here to home and then I go to print, or I go to orders and I select create Mismo XML. You're not printing to Mismo, but you kind of are. They're kind of treated the same way. So if I come in here and I say save PDF, that's quote unquote printing. If I print to paper, it's quote unquote printing. If I come over here to orders and I create Mismo XML, you're quote unquote printing. So it's the same interface no matter what you're doing. In this interface, what you're going to be doing is choosing what is going to go in the final report product. However, and this is similar to the way it was in Appraise-It Classic, but I don't want you using this, okay? You can check and uncheck things because I don't want my report profile to go with the report. So I'm going to make sure that's unchecked. But even though you can move things around here at the last minute. So if I have the report, if I have extended comments, I can use these up and down arrows to move them to a different location. I don't want you doing that because that's not going to translate back over here. You're going to want to make sure that you move things around here so that you know exactly what you sent to your lender. Okay? So by the time you get to this point, you should not need to move anything around. You just may want to check or uncheck one of these so that they won't be included in the PDF and the Mismo XML. You're going to save it to wherever you want to save it. You can browse here if you want to. Don't worry about the version. You should never need to change this. You should never need to check this. You're going to basically leave everything here the same unless it is to change where you're going to be saving your XML and your PDF. Because remember, it's going to crank out an XML file and a PDF file. Usually the PDF file, you don't really need that. And if you want, you can just throw it away because the PDF is also going to be embedded inside the XML, and that's what you're actually going to end up uploading and sending to your lender. All right. Hopefully that answers your question, Allison. But it's real simple here. You just, get this the way you want it, then you click save, and it's gonna crank out the Mismo XML for you. Allison says, I already have my forms I want printed together in Classic, so how do I do that in this? So Allison, what you're referring to is the print schemes. Remember I said at the beginning, there are not print schemes in Appraise-It Pro because they're not needed. Because what you'll do is you will, let's say you want to start a blank report and you want to save it as a template. Remember, templates kind of take over for skeletons and they take over for the print scheme. So what you can do is you can open up a blank report, move this stuff around so that it matches the way you like to have your reports delivered. And then you come over here under home, save as, and instead of save as report, you're going to save as a template, give it a name, and then you save it. And then that's how you're going to start your reports from this point forward. So no print schemes because they're not needed. Print schemes are not used, not needed in Appraise-It Pro because you're going to set the order of everything at the time of creation and why you're building the report. Hopefully all that makes sense to everybody. All right. If you have any more questions, please go ahead and pop them in there. I'd be happy to answer them for you. Remember, if you have any questions later on, you can email training@sfrep.com, or if you need immediate help, tech@sfrep.com. All right. Now, I did tell you guys that I wanted to show you the new U83.6. And if you are using Appraise-It Pro now, you have access to this. Now, you can't deliver a report yet because we have not been certified by the GSEs yet. We're going to be the first of the big four to get certified, but we're not certified yet. That's probably coming in the next day or two, not including the weekend. So it might be Monday, but that's what we're thinking right now. It will Things can always slip, but I think that either tomorrow or Monday, you'll get an announcement from us that we're certified. Almost certainly sometime next week, but I think definitely by Monday. Might slip, but I'm fingers crossed that we're going to be there on Monday. All right. But I do want to, excuse me, I do want to show you the UAD 3.6, and you can play around with it and start getting familiar with it in Appraise-It Pro right now. And the way you're going to do that is go back over to the backstage by clicking on the file menu. And under new, instead of UAD 2.6, we're going to go to UAD 3.6. Now, you may have heard, hey, there's only one report. There's only one dynamic report. That's not true. There's actually three. There's the completion report, the update report, and the URAR, the dynamic URAR. And we're going to select that one to look at. And I'm going to open up a blank one for you. And here you go. This is the new UAD 3.6 in Appraise-It Pro. For those people who are on using ACI or Bradford, there's a big difference between the UAD 2.6 and the UAD 3.6 with them. They're having a much different experience trying to relearn how to fill out a report. What we've done for you guys is you're going to be filling out a report in much the same way you've been doing for decades. We wanted to make sure that this was as similar to what you've been doing as possible. And that's why we're presenting it to you in what's called a what you see or what you get or WYSIWYG format. So just like in the UAD 2.6, you've got your report panel here, your responses, your format, your validator. The big difference here is that you cannot change the order of the report. The GSEs want a UAD 3.6 report to be in the same order no matter who created it or what software they used to create it. So the sketch will always be between features and dwellings. The market section will always be between evaluation and market history. They want it to be the same no matter what. So you cannot move this around. You also cannot add or subtract things. Okay, you'll notice that the remove button here doesn't work. Okay, that's because everything here is set. If you don't end up using one of these sections, then it just won't be included in the final product. Okay. Now, what's all this dynamic stuff I hear about? Well, the easiest way for you to see how that works is under the sales contract section. So I've opened up sales contract. There is no sales contract currently in this particular report. So all it says is sales contract. Is there a contract? No. And that's it. This is just a kind of a placeholder. This would not be included in the final report. But as soon as I check yes, things start to happen. And as I use these check boxes, you'll see how things kind of start flipping in and fading in. That's how we're doing this. As you start answering questions, things start happening both on screen and off screen. What do I mean by that? If I come up here to subject property and I say that the attachment type is attached, by answering that one question in this pull down, the report, which is kind of a smart report, the report now knows that I am either doing like a duplex or a townhome or a condo or something like that. So off screen, behind the scenes, things have started happening and things have been added to the report, subtracted from the report, things have changed in the report to follow. And if I come in here and I say, let's say we'll do neighborhood name, county, manufactured homes, I'm going to say 1 maybe here or something like that. As I start answering, let's say planned unit development, yes. Is it a condominium? Yes. Boom. Now it knows I'm dealing with a condo report and things have happened. See, look, project information just jumped in there. That wasn't even there before. So now we got project information and I've got more stuff to fill out here. The new UAD 3.6 is a lot of checkboxes and a lot of pull down menus. So here's your pull down menus. Here are your checkboxes. And as you start checking things start happening below. Did you see that? Check. Now things are converted in the past 3 years, starts popping in. And that's how the dynamic nature of this happens. but you're still filling out a graphical representation of the final printed product, the human readable version of the report. So we're keeping things as similar as possible to aid you in moving over and transitioning to this. And let me go ahead. I'm going to close out of here, and I'm going to open up an existing single-family residential scenario. These are one of the scenarios from the GSEs. This is a pre-filled out report. So if I come over here to the subject property section, you can see that this is all filled out now. And actually, I did that earlier. That is actually detached. So there's my neighborhood name, detached. I'm opening up this because I want you to see how the sales comparables are. People have been asking for years for us to have side-by-side comparables, and we are introducing those with the new UAD. So here are your comparables. All they want is the front view. That's it. That's all they want of your comparable. And as I understand it, you can use, it's okay to use like MLS photos now or reuse photos previously as long as they are still accurately reflecting that particular house. So they're now okay with you using MLS photos. I can click on add comparable here. If I want to add an additional comparable, I can just keep adding additional comps here and just scroll out here to the right. Real simple. Now, don't freak out about UAD 3.6, okay? Some of you might be freaking out a little bit. Hopefully you've been going to your CE classes. We are going to be doing some webinars specifically on filling out a UAD 3.6 report, which is going to be similar to what you just did here, but we're going to concentrate solely on filling out UAD 3.6, not the UAD 2.6. But it is imperative that you get to know Appraise-It Pro for UAD 2.6 because you're going to be doing both UAD 2.6 and 3.6 reports for the foreseeable future, for the next year or so. We're not going to fully transition over to the UAD 3.6 until next November. So until next November, you're going to be doing both at the same time. Now, when you get your first UAD 3.6 report, we have a trainer. She's actually in the, she's actually watching this right now. She's in here. She's in the chat, so she can answer any questions you have if you have any. Lindsay will actually log into your computer when you get your first UAD 3.6 report, and she can guide you through it step by step, showing you how you use the pull down, where things go, things like that. Now, she and I, we're not appraisers. Probably know more about appraising than we ever wanted to, but we are not appraisers. So you do need to do your CE so that you know what to put into the report. But we'll show you how to put it into the report, how to put it into Appraise-It Pro, and then how to generate your MISMO XML and deliver it. So we'll help you with that. So email training@sfrep.com when you get your first UAD 3.6 assignment, and we will get you scheduled for Lindsay or myself to log into your computer and show you how Appraise-It Pro's UAD 3.6 interface works. So we only had a couple of questions. I don't see any more questions from you guys. So if you have any questions, get them in now. Otherwise, training@sfrep.com and I won't be able to put it up on the screen right now, but get a pen and paper ready. I'm going to give you my direct telephone number. Now you can call me. It's probably going to go to voicemail. I'm usually busy and can't answer the phone. You can leave a voicemail, but you can also text me at that number. We have a fancy voice over IP system. I'm working from home. We all work from home. We don't have offices anymore after COVID. But we have a fancy voice over IP system that allows me to get text messages from you guys. And they come to my iPhone, and they also come to my desktop. And that's always the best way to get in touch with me, either that or email. So you can email me directly, matt@sfrep.com, MATT @sfrep.com, or you can call me or preferred text me at area code 828-919-9082. That's 828-919-9082. I'll put it in here for you, 828-919-9082. Feel free to text me at that number or call, and I can answer any questions that you might have. Okay. Does anybody have any other questions before we cut you loose? It's a beautiful day out there. It finally stopped raining here in Charlotte, and it's 60 degrees outside. So I'm going to go walk my dog if you guys don't have any more questions. But thank you for showing up. I really appreciate it. Thanks for being an SFREP customer. If you're not an SFREP customer, I want you to give us a call so that you can become an SFREP customer. 800-644-4051. We will go over everything you need to know to get you started. Lindsay can log into your computer as our trainer, and she can get you all installed, squared away, make sure everything's installed. And if you're moving over to Appraise-It Pro from Classic, she can log in and get it installed and set up for you as well. Just email training@sfrep.com or call 800-644-4051 to get everything set up. Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate it. We love you guys, all of our customers. You guys are amazing. And thank you for being part of the SFREP family. I hope all of you have a wonderful rest of your week, the day that's left, and hope you have a great weekend. We'll see you. Everybody take care.